I don't know how to start this. Not really. My hands are shaking as I try to get this out, like if I don't tell someone, it'll stay locked inside me forever, festering. My name's David Keller, 34 years old, or at least I was when this all began. I'm not sure what I am now, human, maybe, but not entirely. I'm sitting in a cheap motel room, the kind with flickering fluorescent lights, and a mattress that smells like stale cigarettes, trying to piece together what happened in that house. This isn't some campfire ghost story. It's not about cheap thrills or things that go bump in the night. It's about what happens when the world you trust, your phone, your home, your own body turns on you. It started with a call, one I can't explain. And now I'm wondering if I'm even the one speaking these words. I need you to listen, because if I don't finish this, no one else will. Whatever you do, don't answer your phone at 3:12 a.m. Not ever. It was a Tuesday, I think, when the first call came. I'd been asleep, or trying to. My insomnia keeping me in that hazy space between dreams and waking. The clock on my nightstand glowed 3:12 a.m., its red digits cutting through the dark like a warning. My phone buzzed on the table, rattling against the wood. The screen lit up with unknown emergency line. I stared at it, my heart already racing before I knew why. Why would 911 be calling me? I grabbed the phone, my fingers clumsy, and pressed it to my ear. "Hello," I said, my voice thick with sleep. Nothing. Just breathing deep, slow. Labored, like someone was dragging air through a throat clogged with something thick. It wasn't panicked, but it was heavy, deliberate. Each inhale a struggle. I said hello again, louder, then again, my voice rising. No answer. Just that breathing, maybe 10 seconds before it stopped. Not a click, not a hang-up, just silence, heavy and final. I checked my call log, my hands trembling, but there was nothing. No trace of the call. I told myself it was a glitch, a wrong number, maybe some drunk prank calling from a blocked line. But I didn't sleep after that. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the silence in the house louder than it should have been. I'd only been in that house a few months. I moved to this quiet corner of Pennsylvania after my divorce, trying to outrun the wreckage of my old life. The house was a fixer-upper, cheap for its size, with creaky hardwood floors and a basement that smelled like damp earth and something sour I could never quite place. I'm not a social guy. Divorce strips you of that, leaves you raw and inward. My days were routine, remote IT work from my cluttered home office, takeout dinners, and too much coffee to fight the insomnia that had settled in like an unwanted guest. The house always felt wrong though, not haunted, not like in the movies, but off, too still. The kind of quiet that makes you hyper-aware of every sound, a creak in the hallway, the hum of the fridge stuttering, the faint drip of a faucet you swore you fixed. At night, I'd hear things, little taps or scratches, like mice skittering in the walls. I told myself it was just an old house settling, but I started keeping the TV on low. Some late-night infomercial droning to drown out the silence. I didn't know then that the house was listening as much as I was. The calls kept coming, every night at 3:12 a.m., precise as a heartbeat. Always the same, unknown emergency line, that heavy breathing, then silence. Each night, the breathing changed. One night, it was slower, like the person was fading, each breath a little weaker. Another, it was ragged, almost choking, like they were drowning in their own lungs. I started recording the calls on an old voice memo app, holding my phone to my ear with one hand and the recorder with the other, desperate to catch something, to prove I wasn't imagining it. On the fifth night, I heard something new, a faint whisper, buried in the exhale, like words hissed through a clenched jaw. I couldn't make it out, just a sibilant hiss, like a radio signal breaking through static. I played it back over and over, my skin crawling, the sound looping in my headphones until my ears ached. I stopped sleeping much after that. I'd sit up in bed, lights on, phone in my hand, waiting for 3:12 a.m., dreading the moment the screen would light up. I started Googling, posting on Reddit forums like r/NoSleep and r/Paranormal, asking if anyone had dealt with phantom 911 calls. Most responses were dismissive scams, robocalls, maybe a neighbor's phone misdialing. But one user, Static Viad, messaged me directly. "That's no prank," they wrote. "Sounds like a death rattle. Don't answer again." I asked what they meant, but their account was deleted the next day, like they'd never existed. The house started changing too. My TV would flicker on at 3:12 a.m., always to static, grey snow hissing across the screen. I'd unplug it, double-check the power strip, but it didn't matter, it'd turn on anyway. The static so loud it made my teeth hurt. My smart speaker, some cheap Alexa knockoff, started acting up. One night, it spoke without prompting. "I'm sorry, I can't help you." I hadn't said a word. I yanked the plug and buried the thing in a drawer, but I could still hear it humming sometimes, like it was still alive. My laptop glitched too, opening browser tabs to random articles, missing persons cases, cold cases from Pennsylvania, all from years ago. I thought I was being hacked, so I changed my Wi-Fi password, reset my devices, ran every antivirus scan I could find. Nothing worked. The glitches kept coming, always at night, always tied to 3:12. I bought cheap security cameras off Amazon, set them up in the living room, kitchen, hallway, hoping to catch something, a prowler, a prankster, anything to make sense of it. The footage was always clean, except for one clip at 3:12 a.m. The living room camera caught a shadow flickering across the wall, tall and thin, moving too fast to be human. No one was there. I watched that clip until my eyes burned, zooming in, trying to convince myself it was a trick of the light. But I knew it wasn't. I called the local 911 dispatch, my voice shaky as I explained the calls. The woman on the line, Diane, was kind but skeptical. She checked their system while I waited, the silence on her end stretching too long. When she came back, her voice was quieter. "There was a call from your address," she said. 10 years ago, October 17, 2015, a woman named Elena Brooks, 28, had dialed 911 from my house. The recording was just like mine, heavy breathing, then silence. No words, no plea for help. Elena was reported missing the next day. No body, no leads. Just a cold case. Diane said they'd look into my calls, but I could hear the doubt in her voice. I spent hours that night digging through online archives, old news sites, anything I could find. Elena had lived here alone, just like me. Articles mentioned her acting strange. Before she vanished telling friends, she heard noises in the walls, saw shadows that didn't belong. One post on a local forum said she'd been terrified of her phone, said it kept ringing with no one there. I found a photo of her in an old article. Grainy and low-res pale skin, dark hair, eyes wide like she'd seen something awful. I couldn't stop staring. That night, the call came again, and I swear the breathing sounded like it was trying to form her name Lina, each syllable stretched into a rasp. The house got louder after that. The creaks turned into scratches, sharp and deliberate, like nails dragging across wood. Sometimes I'd hear muffled crying, so faint I'd press my ear to the walls, trying to pinpoint it. I tore the house apart, checked vents, lifted floorboards, shined a flashlight into every corner. In the basement, I found a section of wall that didn't match the rest, newer drywall, slightly discolored, like it'd been patched in a hurry. I grabbed a crowbar from the garage, my hands sweating, and pried it open. Behind it was a crawl space, maybe 4 feet high, damp and reeking of mildew, and something worse, like decay. The wooden beams inside were covered in scratches deep, frantic, like someone had clawed at them until their fingers bled. I found an old phone battery, cracked, and leaking green corrosion. And something else, a human tooth, small and yellowed, sitting in the dirt. My stomach lurched, and I stumbled back, my flashlight shaking in my hand. I didn't touch it. I just sat there, staring, knowing this was where Elena died. I could feel it, like the air itself was heavy with her fear. I started listening to the call recordings obsessively, slowing them down, amplifying every hiss and crackle. That's when I heard it. The whispers weren't random. They were words, stretched and warped, like they were being pulled through something thick. "Help me," one said, faint and desperate. "He's here," said another, sharp and terrified. I started having dreams, nightmares, really of a woman with dark hair, her face half hidden in shadow. She'd reach for me, her mouth moving, but no sound came out. Her eyes were wide, pleading, and she'd point at me, like I was supposed to do something. I'd wake up gasping, my chest tight, like something was sitting on it. I realized something awful. The calls weren't for me. They were through me, like I was a conduit, a signal booster for something trapped in this house. I stopped answering the phone, let it ring until it went to voicemail, but it didn't matter. The calls kept coming, and I started feeling wrong, physically wrong. My hands would tremble for no reason. My reflection in the bathroom mirror looked off, like my eyes were too dark, too deep. I'd catch myself humming a tune I didn't know, low and mournful, like a funeral hymn. I called the police again, begged them to check the crawl space. An officer, Hargrove, showed up the next day. He was older, tired looking, and he listened to my story with the kind of patience you give someone you think is unhinged. He checked the basement, flashlight in hand, but the crawl space was gone. Not sealed, gone. The wall was solid concrete, no sign of my crowbar marks, no tooth, no battery. Hargrove looked at me like I was wasting his time. I showed him my recordings, but when I played them, they were corrupted, just static. No breathing, no whispers. I started keeping a video diary on my laptop, talking into the webcam like it was my last chance. "If you're watching this," I said, my voice cracking, "something's in this house. It's not just a ghost, it's using me. If I'm gone, don't let it." I couldn't finish. My throat closed up, like something was squeezing it from the inside. I uploaded the videos to a cloud drive, set a password, and emailed the link to myself, just in case. Things got worse. I'd catch my reflection in the mirror, and it wouldn't match my movements. I'd raise my arm, but the reflection would be a second behind, or it'd smile when I wasn't. One night, I woke up to my own breathing, loud, wet, like the calls. I held my breath, counting to 10, but the sound kept going, coming from my own mouth. I recorded myself sleeping, set up my phone on a tripod, and the footage was worse than I imagined. At 3:12 a.m., I sat up in bed, eyes open, staring at the camera. Breathing like that, slow, labored, like I was drowning. I didn't remember any of it. The next call was different. The breathing stopped, and a voice, clear, cold, female, said, "He's inside." Then nothing. The calls stopped after that, and I thought, stupidly, that it was over. I was wrong. My phone started dialing 911 on its own. I'd wake up to the call already connected. My voice, or something using my voice, breathing into the line. I'd try to hang up, but my fingers wouldn't move, like they weren't mine. One night, I watched myself in the mirror as it happened. My mouth opened, and that slow, heavy breathing came out, but my chest didn't move. I wasn't breathing. The phone crackled, and a voice not mine, not human, whispered. It was never about saving anyone, just opening the door. I smashed the phone with a hammer, shards of glass and plastic scattering across the floor. I swept them up, threw them out. But the next night, the phone was back on my nightstand, screen glowing, 3:12 a.m. No cracks, no damage, like I'd never touched it. I started losing time, I'd blink, and hours would vanish. I'd find myself standing in the basement, no memory of walking down the stairs. My hands covered in dirt. I'd hear the scratching again, louder, like it was inside my skull. I stopped eating, stopped sleeping. My body moving on autopilot, while something else pulled the strings. I saw her everywhere, Elena, or whatever she'd become. In the corner of my eye, in the static on the TV, in the reflection of my coffee mug. Her face, pale and hollow, her mouth moving, whispering words I couldn't hear. I tried to leave, packed a bag, got in my car, but the engine wouldn't start. The radio came on instead, hissing static, and through it, her voice. You can't. I don't know how long I have left. I'm not sure I'm even me anymore. I moved out, or I think I did. I'm in this motel now, but I keep dreaming of the house of her. I see her in every shadow, hear her in every silence. The motel phone rang last night, 3:12 a.m., and I didn't answer. I unplugged it, but I could still hear the breathing, faint, through the walls. If you're listening to this, if you find my phone, my videos, anything, don't stay in that house. Don't answer the calls. I don't know what it wants, but it's not done. It's waiting, and I think it's waiting for you. Weeks later, a young couple moved into the house, excited for their fresh start. They were unpacking boxes in the living room when they noticed a loose baseboard near the fireplace. Curious, the husband pried it open and found a phone, old but impossibly powered on, its screen glowing faintly. There was a voicemail, unplayed. They exchanged a glance, uneasy, and pressed play. It was just breathing slow, labored, like someone fighting for air. Then silence. In the background, so faint they almost missed it, a whisper. Don't answer. The wife dropped the phone, her hands shaking. That night, at 3:12 a.m., it rang.